The large screen in the command center of the International Space Station lit up with strange symbols. Everyone froze. After decades of sending signals into space, someone had finally answered. Alex Wright rubbed his tired eyes. As commander of the station, he had seen many strange things during his 15 years in space, but nothing like this. The symbols changed and shifted, forming patterns that somehow seemed both alien and familiar. "Are we recording this?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, sir," replied Olivia Martinez, the station's chief scientist. Her fingers flew across her tablet as she worked. "I'm running it through all our translation programs." For 3 days, the symbols continued to appear. Scientists on Earth worked around the clock trying to understand the message. On the 4th day, they had a breakthrough. "It's a language primer," Olivia explained to Alex as they floated in the observation module. "They're teaching us how to speak with them." 2 weeks later, the alien ship arrived. It positioned itself exactly 1,000 miles from Earth, just far enough to show they meant no harm, but close enough for easy communication. Alex was chosen to make first contact. As the shuttle approached the alien vessel, his heart pounded in his chest. The alien ship was beautiful, shaped like a giant snowflake made of some shimmering material that seemed to change color as they approached. The docking procedure was surprisingly simple. The alien ship extended a tunnel that sealed perfectly with their shuttle. Alex took a deep breath and pushed through the airlock. The being that greeted him was not what he expected. It looked like a tall, slender praying mantis with translucent skin that revealed flowing blue liquid inside. It had 4 arms and stood nearly 8 feet tall. "I am Zixtal," the alien said, its voice coming from a small device around what might be its neck. "Ambassador of the Galactic Confederation." Alex stood straighter. "Commander Alex Wright of Earth. Welcome." The alien's large, compound eyes studied him. "Your species has been observed for many cycles. Your presence is unexpected." "Unexpected?" Alex asked. "Your world should not support complex life. It is classified as a Category 5 Deathworld in our records." Alex wasn't sure if he should feel insulted or proud. "We call it home." Zixtal made a gesture with its upper limbs that might have been respect or possibly fear. "The gravity alone should crush your bones. The temperature variations should prevent stable biological development. The radiation from your sun should cause constant harmful mutations." The alien stepped closer, and Alex noticed how it moved carefully, as if the standard gravity in the connecting tunnel was difficult for it. "Yet you thrive," Zixtal continued. "You run for pleasure. You swim in acid oceans. You breathe oxygen, levels that would be toxic to most sentient species." Alex thought about his morning jog before the mission and smiled. "We're just doing what comes naturally." The news of first contact spread quickly across Earth. People reacted with a mixture of fear, excitement, and curiosity. World leaders gathered at the United Nations to discuss humanity's response. Meanwhile, Olivia Martinez worked with a team of scientists to analyze the biological data shared by the aliens. The more she learned, the more amazed she became. "According to their standards, we're practically indestructible," she explained during a briefing with top military and government officials. "What we consider normal, they consider extreme." General Paul Harris, a stern man with gray hair, leaned forward. "Are you saying we're stronger than they are? Physically?" "Absolutely," Olivia nodded. "Most species in the Confederation evolved on worlds with much lower gravity, less radiation, and more stable environments. Their bodies never needed to develop the resilience ours did." "What about their technology?" asked Elizabeth Taylor, the Secretary of Defense. "Advanced, but not magic," Olivia replied. "They've had space travel for thousands of years longer than us, but in some ways, their physical limitations have shaped their development. They rely on technology for things we do naturally." Back on the alien ship, Alex was shown images of other worlds in the Confederation. Most were beautiful by human standards, peaceful with gentle weather and stable conditions. The beings that evolved there were equally delicate-looking. "Why have you contacted us now?" Alex asked Zixtal during their 3rd meeting. The alien's inner fluid darkened slightly, which Alex had learned indicated serious concern. The Confederation faces a threat, Zixtal explained. Another species from a harsh world has begun conquering the outer systems. They are called the Vorax. Zixtal touched a panel, and a holographic image appeared. The creature shown looked like a cross between a rhinoceros and a crab, with thick armor plates and powerful limbs. They evolved on a Category 4 Deathworld. Until we found your planet, we thought that was as extreme as life-supporting worlds could be. Alex studied the image carefully. And these Vorax are hostile? They believe that surviving on a harsh world makes them superior, destined to rule. Their biology gives them advantages in warfare that most Confederation species cannot match. Zixtal paused. But they have never encountered beings from a Category 5 world before. The implications were clear. The Confederation hadn't reached out to humanity for simple cultural exchange or scientific curiosity. They were looking for allies, or possibly soldiers, who could fight an enemy too physically powerful for them to resist. We offer membership in the Confederation, Zixtal said. Access to our technology, our star maps, our knowledge gathered over millennia. In return, you want our help against the Vorax, Alex finished. Yes, the alien admitted. Your world has forged your species into something remarkable. What you consider ordinary, the galaxy considers extraordinary. As Alex prepared to return to Earth with the offer, he gazed out at his home planet through a viewport. The beautiful blue marble hung in space, looking peaceful despite the raging storms, shifting continents, and extreme conditions that had shaped humanity's evolution. Earth wasn't just home. It was a crucible that had created a species uniquely suited to survive where others could not. For the first time, Alex saw his world through alien eyes, not just a death world, but the ultimate death world, and humanity was its greatest creation. 6 months after first contact, Lieutenant Stephen Garcia stood on the bridge of the Confederation flagship Celestial Harmony. The massive ship was unlike anything humans had built. It stretched nearly a mile long, with graceful curves that reminded Stephen of ocean waves frozen in metal. Around him stood representatives from 27 alien species. Some floated in bubbles of liquid. Others wore special suits to protect their delicate bodies. All of them kept a careful distance from Stephen and the 5 other humans aboard. Does my presence make you uncomfortable? Stephen asked Krell, a scientist from the Waterworld Aquarii. The alien resembled a blue squid with 8 tentacles and large, intelligent eyes. Not uncomfortable, Krell replied through his translator. Cautious. Your body density and muscle strength are concerning. Stephen had been chosen as the first human military liaison because of his calm personality and diplomatic skills. Still, he couldn't help but feel like a bull in a china shop among these fragile aliens. Most sentient species, Krell continued, evolved on worlds with 1/10 to 1/3 of Earth's gravity. Our bodies are simply not built to withstand the forces yours consider normal. To demonstrate, Stephen bent his knees slightly and jumped. In the ship's artificial gravity, set to Confederation standard rather than Earth normal, he easily cleared 3 feet. Several nearby aliens moved back quickly, their movements showing alarm. Please, a tall, reed-thin alien named Vel said. No sudden movements. Stephen apologized. It was still hard to believe that what humans considered basic physical abilities were viewed as almost superhuman throughout the galaxy. The main purpose of his visit was to learn about the Vorax threat. The Celestial Harmony was heading to the edge of Confederation space where the Vorax had recently conquered 3 worlds. Admiral Zhen, the ship's commander, guided Stephen to the Strategic Command Center. The room contained a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Confederation worlds shown in blue and Vorax-controlled areas in red. The Vorax evolved on a Category 4 Deathworld, Admiral Zhen explained. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperatures. Not as severe as Earth, but harsh enough to make them physically superior to most Confederation species. Stephen studied the red areas spreading like a stain across the map. How do they fight? Brutally, the Admiral replied. They use their natural armor and strength, combined with advanced technology. Our ships are faster, but theirs are built to withstand incredible damage, like their bodies. Later that day, Stephen joined Dr. Amy Nelson, Earth's xenobiological expert in the ship's science lab. Amy had spent months studying the biological data on all known sentient species. "It's fascinating," she told Stephen as they examined holographic displays of various alien anatomies. "We take so many things for granted that are almost miraculous to other species." She activated a display showing human biological systems compared to Confederation averages. "Look at our healing abilities." She pointed to the data. "A broken bone? We produce new cells, knit the fracture, and heal completely. Most species would need artificial replacements." "What about the Vorax?" Stephen asked. Amy switched the display. "They're impressive. Thicker bones, natural armor plates, powerful muscles. But they lack our adaptability. They evolved for strength. In one type of environment, we evolved to survive in everything from Arctic ice to burning deserts." The display showed a Vorax, a massive creature with a rhinoceros-like head, crab-like armor, and 4 powerful limbs ending in clawed hands. "They're bigger, stronger in some ways," Amy said. "But humans have advantages they don't. Our endurance, for one. We evolved as persistence hunters, able to run prey to exhaustion. No other known species did that." Their research was interrupted when alarms blared throughout the ship. Stephen rushed back to the bridge where chaos had erupted. The view screen showed 3 Vorax warships appearing from hyperspace directly in their path. "Battle stations, Admiral," Jen ordered, his voice calm despite the danger. Most of the bridge crew moved with frantic purpose, but Stephen noticed they seemed almost delicate in their movements. "No wasted energy, no sudden turns." "They've found us too soon," the Admiral said. "We are not a warship." The ship shuddered as the first enemy shots hit their shields. Several crew members stumbled. One fell and cried out in pain from what looked to Stephen like a minor bump. Over the next hour, Stephen witnessed how different Confederation combat was from human warfare. The aliens fought with careful precision and elegant technology, but they lacked the physical resilience to handle battle conditions. When a console exploded near the navigation station, the navigator collapsed from shock despite minor injuries. Stephen jumped in, ignoring the heat and sharp fragments that cut his hands as he worked to stabilize the ship's course. "You're bleeding," Admiral Jen said, his large eyes wide. "It's nothing," Stephen replied, continuing to work. "Just a few cuts." The amazed look on the Admiral's face made Stephen realize how differently they viewed physical injury. What he considered minor discomfort might be life-threatening to these beings. The Celestial Harmony managed to escape by making a risky jump through an asteroid field that the heavier Vorax ships couldn't follow. As the crew recovered, Stephen found himself the center of attention. "You continued functioning while injured," one officer said with what sounded like awe. "You moved through smoke that would poison most species," another added. Stephen didn't know how to explain that what he'd done was ordinary for any human soldier. The gap between human physical capabilities and those of their new allies was wider than he had imagined. That evening, Admiral Jen called a meeting with all the human representatives aboard. "We have underestimated the Vorax threat," he said, gravely. "They are advancing faster than predicted." The Admiral activated a recording showing Vorax ground troops in battle. They moved with surprising speed for their size, using brutal, direct tactics and overwhelming force. "Our military doctrine is based on precision, technology, and avoiding casualties," the Admiral continued. "The Vorax strategy exploits our physical limitations." He turned to face the humans directly. "We need your help, not just your technology or your ships. We need human soldiers who can do what our forces cannot." Stephen looked at his fellow humans. They all understood what was being asked. Humans would become the frontline fighters in a galactic war. "I'll need to consult with Earth Command," Stephen said carefully. "This goes beyond our initial agreement." As he prepared his report that night, Stephen wondered how humanity would respond. For the first time, being from the galaxy's most extreme Deathworld might not be just a biological curiosity, it could be humanity's most Captain Laura Baker clutched her command chair as the ship shook violently around her. Warning lights flashed across the bridge of the ESS Defender, the first human-modified Confederation vessel. "Shields at 30%, reported Officer John Reyes, his voice steady despite the chaos. 6 months had passed since Earth agreed to join the fight against the Vorax. Laura had been among the first humans trained to pilot Confederation ships. The vessels were originally designed for aliens with 3 times the number of limbs but half the physical strength of humans. "Return fire," Laura ordered. "Target their engine section." The Defender unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. The beam struck the Vorax battlecruiser, leaving glowing scars across its hull. "Direct hit," said Susan Bell, the weapons officer. "But their armor is thick." The Vorax ship loomed ahead, its organic-looking hull covered with weapon ports. Intelligence suggested the Vorax had evolved on a high-radiation world with crushing atmospheric pressure, nearly as challenging as Earth but lacking the extreme temperature variations and diverse biomes that had pushed humans to adapt to virtually any environment. Laura had studied the Vorax extensively. They were the only other species from a high-category Deathworld, though their planet was classified as Category 4, still less extreme than Earth. They were physically imposing, stronger than humans in raw power, but they lacked human endurance and adaptability. "They've never faced anything like us," Laura said with grim determination. "Execute Maneuver Delta." The crew braced themselves as the ship performed a series of tight turns and rolls that would have been impossible for Confederation pilots. The inertial dampeners strained to compensate, allowing gravity inside the ship to reach 5 times normal Earth gravity during the most extreme maneuvers. For the humans, it was uncomfortable but manageable. Their training had prepared them for such conditions. A Confederation crew would have suffered broken bones or worse. The Defender slipped behind the larger Vorax vessel, targeting the unprotected rear section. Their weapons found a weak point, and a series of explosions ripped through the enemy ship. "We've damaged their main drive," Susan reported, but the victory was short-lived. A lucky shot from the dying Vorax ship struck the Defender's life support systems. Alarms blared as toxic gases began to leak onto the bridge. "Atmospheric breach," John shouted. "Oxygen levels dropping." Laura pulled an emergency breather from beneath her chair. "Everyone, emergency gear. Continue firing." The thin masks provided only minimal protection. The air grew hot and filled with smoke and radiation from damaged systems. A Confederation crew would have been incapacitated within minutes. The humans kept fighting. Engineer Frank Collins worked in the engine room where conditions were worst. The main power coupling had been damaged, threatening to overload the entire system. "Captain," Frank called over the comm, "I need to manually vent the engine core or we'll lose the ship." "The radiation levels in that section are lethal," Laura replied, coughing through her mask. "Lethal for them," Frank said. "Just really bad for us." Without waiting for further orders, Frank entered the engine core. The heat hit him like a wall, and his radiation badge immediately turned black, warning of extreme exposure. He would be sick for weeks after this, but unlike a Confederation engineer, he wouldn't die instantly. With burned hands, Frank managed to redirect the power flow and vent the excess energy into space. The ship stabilized just long enough to deliver the final blows to the Vorax cruiser. When it was over, the Defender limped away from the battlefield, victorious but damaged. The human crew suffered from radiation sickness, burns, broken bones, and toxic exposure, injuries that would have killed most other species outright. Confederation medical ships rushed to their aid. The alien doctors were shocked at the humans' condition. "You should not be alive," said Chief Medical Officer Rilksan as he examined Laura. His 4-fingered hands passed medical scanners over her body. "Your cellular damage is severe." "We'll recover," Laura assured him. "Humans are good at that." "Your species continues to defy our understanding," Rilksan admitted. "The conditions aboard your vessel would have killed any Confederation crew in minutes, yet you not only survived but continued to fight effectively." News of the battle spread quickly throughout the Confederation. The victory was not due to superior technology or tactics, but to the human crew's ability to function in conditions that the galaxy classified as unsurvivable. Back on Earth, military leaders analyzed the engagement. General Patricia Ward met with the Joint Chiefs in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Confederation was losing this war before we joined, she said, pointing to a holographic map showing Vorax territory. They've now pushed back the Vorax advance for the first time. At what cost? Asked Admiral Graham, studying the medical. Reports from the Defender. Captain Baker's entire crew will be in treatment for weeks. But they'll recover fully, Patricia replied. That's the point the Confederation finds so remarkable. We can take damage that would kill them and then we heal. She activated a video showing Confederation Marines attempting to train in Earth's gravity. The alien soldiers struggled to stand, their bodies not designed for such pressure. Their strongest fighters can barely function in what we consider normal conditions, Patricia continued. Meanwhile, our people can adapt to almost any environment with minimal support. The military leaders understood the implications. Humans weren't just soldiers in this war. They were the ultimate weapon. Their biology, shaped by Earth's extreme conditions, made them nearly unstoppable by Confederation standards. I'm authorizing the formation of the 1st Deathworld Brigade, Patricia announced. 1,000 of our best soldiers, specially trained to leverage our natural advantages. Within days, recruitment began. Soldiers from around the world volunteered, drawn by the chance to defend Earth and the adventure of space combat. The training program pushed them to their limits, teaching them to fight in everything from zero gravity to crushing pressure, from vacuum to toxic atmospheres. On the Confederation capital world, the High Council debated the role of humans in the war. Some counselors expressed fear about arming such physically superior beings. What if they turn against us? Asked one representative from a low-gravity world. Ambassador Zixtal, who had first contacted Earth, responded calmly. I have studied humans closely. Yes, they are physically formidable beyond our comprehension, but their greatest strength isn't their durability. It's their compassion despite that strength. They evolved on a world that should have made them into monsters, yet they built a civilization based on cooperation and mutual protection. Zixtal displayed images of humans helping each other after natural disasters, risking their lives to save strangers. They were forged in hardship, yet it taught them empathy rather than cruelty. That makes them different from the Vorax, and that is why we need them. As the Defender underwent repairs, Captain Laura Baker and her crew received the Confederation's highest military honor, standing before the alien dignitaries, still showing signs of their injuries but standing tall. They represented humanity's first step as guardians of the galaxy. And deep in Vorax territory, their leaders received reports of these new enemies from the ultimate death world. Dr. Jason Powell never imagined his research on human endurance would become the foundation for galactic warfare strategy. Yet here he was, standing in a laboratory aboard the Confederation science vessel Explorer, explaining to alien scientists why humans could do things they considered impossible. Persistence hunting, Jason said, pointing to a holographic display showing early humans chasing prey across a savanna. Our ancestors would literally chase animals until they collapsed. From heat exhaustion, no other sentient species developed this hunting technique. The alien scientists watched with a mixture of fascination and horror. Chief biologist Zarvol, a being resembling a turtle with moth-like features, shook his head in disbelief. Your cardiac system sustains activity for hours, even days, Zarvol noted. The closest equivalent among Confederation species can manage intense activity for minutes before requiring rest. Jason continued his presentation, moving to the next biological advantage. Thermal regulation through sweating, he explained. This allows humans to maintain activity in temperature ranges that would kill most species. The display showed humans functioning in environments from the freezing Antarctic to the burning Sahara Desert. And your healing abilities are perhaps most remarkable of all, Zarvol added. Bones knitting together, wounds closing, infections fought off by an aggressive immune system. Many species never evolved these capabilities because their environments were stable enough not to require them. For the past month, Jason had been working with Confederation scientists to document the evolutionary advantages that humans took for granted. The research was helping both sides understand how humans could be most effective in the war effort. "Your species is terrifying," Zarvol admitted privately to Jason after the presentation. "You evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill you. Predators, weather, geography, even microscopic organisms. And instead of dying out, you thrived." Meanwhile, the war with the Vorax intensified. Their initial fear of humans had transformed into desperate rage. Intercepted communications revealed they considered humans abominations, creatures that should not exist according to the natural order. On the front lines, the newly formed Deathworld Brigade was making a difference. Human soldiers could fight in conditions that even the Vorax struggled with. Their ability to adapt quickly to new environments gave them a strategic advantage that the more specialized Vorax couldn't match. Commander Nicole Foster led the first, entirely human Special Forces team on a mission deep into Vorax territory. Their objective: capture Vorax biotechnology that intelligence suggested was being developed specifically to target human physiology. Nicole's team of 6 dropped onto the surface of a small moon where the Vorax had built a research facility. The environment was harsh: low oxygen, high radiation, and extreme cold. For Confederation forces, it would have been a death sentence even with protective gear. For humans, it was manageable with minimal equipment. "Move fast, stay quiet," Nicole ordered through her comm link as the team approached the facility. "We have 2 hours before extraction." The team worked methodically through the Vorax base. They encountered resistance but had trained for this. The Vorax were physically stronger, but humans could outlast them in extended combat. When a Vorax warrior tired, humans were still going strong. In the central laboratory, Nicole discovered what they had come for, and more. "Command, we have the bioweapon research," she reported. "But there's something else. This isn't just about targeting humans. They're studying our DNA." Nicole downloaded the research data while her team secured the area. The files revealed a disturbing truth. The Vorax weren't just conquerors. They were genetic purists who believed their evolution on a death world made them the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Humanity's emergence from an even more extreme environment threatened their entire ideology. "They're afraid of us," Nicole realized, not just as enemies, but as a challenge to their belief that they're the pinnacle of evolution. The team completed their mission and returned to Confederation space with the captured research. Scientists immediately began working on countermeasures to the Vorax bioweapons. Back on Earth, Dr. Jason Powell reviewed the captured data with growing concern. "They're trying to create a pathogen that targets specific human adaptations," he explained to General Patricia Ward. "Something that would disable our unique endurance and healing abilities." "Can they do it?" Patricia asked. "Not yet," Jason replied. "But the fact that they're trying shows how seriously they take the threat we pose." Patricia considered this information carefully. "We need to end this war before they succeed. It's time to take more aggressive action." The Confederation High Council agreed. Earth's military leaders proposed a bold strategy: force a direct confrontation with the Vorax, leadership on their terms. "The Vorax have an ancient tradition," explained cultural specialist Dr. Alan Green. "When facing a worthy opponent, their leaders can demand a ritual combat to settle disputes. It's rarely used because few species can physically challenge them." "But we can," Patricia stated. Diplomatic channels were opened. To everyone's surprise, the Vorax Supreme Commander accepted the challenge. The location was set: the surface of Cathara, a Category 3 death world that both humans and Vorax could survive, while most Confederation allies would need to remain in orbit. Admiral William Cooper was selected to coordinate the ground forces, a mixture of human soldiers and the few Confederation species hardy enough to withstand Cathara's punishing environment, even in protective gear. As preparations began, Dr. Jason Powell worked to give the human forces every advantage. His team developed specialized equipment that enhanced rather than replaced human biological strengths. "These aren't crutches," he told the soldiers as they tested the new gear. "They're amplifiers for what you already do naturally." The equipment included boots that stored and released energy from movement, mimicking human tendons but with greater efficiency. cooling systems that worked with sweat rather than replacing it, breathing apparatuses that enhanced oxygen extraction rather than supplying it entirely. As the human forces trained, news came from the front lines. The Vorax had withdrawn from 3 contested systems, consolidating their forces. Their strategy was becoming clear. They were preparing for the ritual combat, staking everything on their ability to defeat humans in direct confrontation. Nicole Foster, promoted after her successful mission, was named as one of the squad leaders for the Cathara operation. "This is what we've been training for," she told her team. "Everything that makes Earth a death world has prepared us for this fight." Across human and Confederation space, people prepared for what might be the decisive battle of the war. The question on everyone's mind was simple. In a contest between species from death worlds, would humans, forged on the most extreme world of all, prove to be the ultimate survivors? The final confrontation took place on the surface of Cathara, a world that seemed designed to kill. The sky glowed an angry red. The ground shifted and cracked without warning. Acid rain fell in sudden, violent bursts that could strip the flesh from most species. Admiral William Cooper watched from the command shuttle as the human forces deployed across the rocky landscape. Through the view screen, he could see the distant mountains where steam vents released toxic gases into the already poisonous atmosphere. "A pleasant day on Cathara," he remarked dryly to his second-in-command. "For us, maybe," replied Commander Vincent Ross. The Confederation observers can't even step outside their environmental chambers. Cathara was classified as a Category 3 death world. To the Vorax, it was at the edge of survivable. To humans from Earth's Category 5 environment, it was challenging but manageable. The Vorax Supreme Commander, a massive creature with chitinous armor and multiple compound eyes, had demanded this ancient ritual of combat to settle the war. Their species had never lost such a confrontation. They believed their physical superiority made victory inevitable. The rules were simple. Both sides would field their best warriors in a battle for control of a central position. No orbital weapons or heavy vehicles were allowed. The environment itself would be the third combatant. Lieutenant Samantha Kelly led her squad across a field of sharp volcanic rock. Her 20 soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, each carrying specialized gear designed by Dr. Powell's team. "Atmospheric sensors show toxicity increasing," reported Private Eric Mills over the comm. "Suit filters compensating. Weather patterns indicate an acid storm approaching from the west," added Corporal Linda Nunez. "ETA 15 minutes. Samantha nodded. "We'll use it as cover. The Vorax environmental gear is bulkier than ours. Their mobility will be more affected." As the human forces advanced, the Vorax emerged from their landing craft. They were impressive specimens, 8 feet tall, with natural armor that gleamed in the harsh sunlight. They moved with powerful purpose, each step crushing the rocks beneath their feet. The Vorax commander's voice boomed across the battlefield through translation devices. "Humans, you have no place in this galaxy. Today we prove that only the true, children of harsh worlds deserve to rule." Admiral Cooper's voice answered calmly from the command shuttle. "We're not here to rule anything. We're here to end a war you started." The battle began as the acid rain started to fall. The caustic droplets sizzled against rocks and metal alike. The Vorax troops advanced in tight formation, their massive weapons firing blasts that shattered the landscape. Human forces used different tactics. Smaller, faster teams circled and harassed the Vorax lines. When one team tired, another took its place, implementing the persistence hunting strategy that humans had used since prehistoric times. As the hours passed, Cathara threw its worst at both forces. The temperature swung from burning heat to freezing cold within a single hour. Gravity fluctuations made movement unpredictable. Toxic gases vented from sudden cracks in the ground. What was hellish to the Vorax was simply challenging to humans, who had evolved on a planet with even greater extremes. "They're slowing down," Samantha reported after the 4th hour of combat. "Their movements are becoming sluggish." Admiral Cooper nodded. "Endurance. It's working just as Dr. Powell predicted. The Vorax evolved for strength, not stamina. By the 6th hour, the pattern was clear. The Vorax were physically stronger, their weapons more destructive, but they couldn't maintain their performance as the battle dragged on. Humans, by contrast, were reaching their second wind. Then nature intervened. A massive magnetic storm swept across the battlefield, disabling most electronic equipment. Weapons failed. Communications dropped to local ranges only. Even the environmental systems were affected. The Vorax Supreme Commander saw an opportunity. With a roar that needed no translation, he led his elite guard in a charge toward the human central position. Samantha's squad stood directly in their path. Defensive positions, she ordered calmly. Hand-to-hand protocols. This was the moment Dr. Powell had prepared them for. As their equipment failed, the humans fell back on what had kept their species alive on Earth for thousands of generations: their natural abilities. The Vorax elite guard hit the human line with devastating force. 2 soldiers went down immediately. The Supreme Commander himself targeted Samantha, his massive claws slashing through the air. Samantha ducked and rolled, using her smaller size and greater agility to avoid the blows. The Vorax commander was stronger, but his movements were becoming predictable as fatigue set in. All across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. The Vorax landed powerful blows. Humans absorbed damage that would kill other species, then kept fighting. When a human soldier was too injured to continue, they would fall back and another would take their place. The magnetic storm intensified. The ground beneath them cracked and shifted. Pools of acid formed in low areas. The environment of Cathara seemed determined to kill them all. After 9 hours of continuous battle, the turning point came. The Vorax Supreme Commander stumbled. His mighty limbs trembled with exhaustion. His armored chest heaved as he struggled to breathe the toxic air. Samantha, bloodied and injured but still functional, saw her opening. She didn't attack with hatred or rage, but with the calm determination that had carried humanity through countless crises on Earth. The final confrontation lasted less than a minute. When it was over, the Vorax Supreme Commander knelt on the broken ground, unable to continue fighting. A hush fell over the battlefield as enemies stared at each other across the poisonous landscape of Cathara. The Vorax warriors looked to their leader in disbelief. No species had ever outlasted them in combat. The Supreme Commander raised his head. His voice, when it came through the damaged translators, held a note of wonder beneath the exhaustion. "How?" he asked simply. "How could such creatures as you evolve? What kind of hell forged your kind?" Admiral Cooper had descended to the surface, his simple environmental suit sufficient for brief exposure. He stood beside Samantha, looking at the defeated Vorax leader. "We call it Earth," he said. "And now that we know what's out there among the stars, we're never going back to thinking we're alone or vulnerable again." The terms of surrender were negotiated over the following days. The Vorax withdrew from conquered territories. The war that had threatened to tear apart the Confederation ended, not with the extinction of either side, but with a new understanding. In the years that followed, the Galactic Confederation established its military academy on Earth, in the harsh Atacama Desert. There, under the supervision of human instructors, the hardiest recruits from across the galaxy trained to withstand a fraction of what humans considered normal conditions. Earth was reclassified in the Confederation records. Beyond Category 5, it now stood alone as the only known Class Omega Deathworld, the cradle of the most resilient sentient species yet discovered. As humanity expanded to the stars, they carried with them the legacy of their homeworld. Not just the strength to survive, but the compassion that came from knowing how fragile life could be, even their own. And across the galaxy, a new phrase entered the lexicon of dozens of species. When faced with an impossible situation, they would